how I bulked up from about 160 pounds to about 220 completely naturally. Eat more food and work out harder. Start to add more calories to your daily consumption. It's not that complicated. Like, I have not touched a steroid or anything along the lines of that for 1 second ever. Like, here's the thing, being big is relative to who you are, your genetics, your height, your age. All these things you got to take into consideration, but you just need to actually put in the effort and the time. Hey, salam everybody, welcome back to the UFK show, and I wanted to make this video to let y'all know how I bulked up from about 160 pounds to about 220 completely naturally. And two, I'm not even that jacked. Right now I'm sitting at 200 pounds. I was 220 not too long ago, but it's like, it's not rocket science. It's literally as simple as eat more food and work out harder. Like, that's it. It's as simple as that. So it's like, okay, look, anecdotally, let me flash back. All right. When I was younger, I was always like a skinny kid. I was athletic. So genetics do play a huge component. I have to give credit to that. But anyone who has been skinnier on the skinnier side and has wanted to put on weight, you just have to have a rough idea of how calories work. So if you're thinking and you're the guy who's like, I eat a lot, but it's like you're eating a bunch of pizzas and you have a couple burgers and you think that's it. That's not how it works. That's not how you actually put on size. You have to have a rough idea of how many calories you're having in the pizzas that you're eating, in the slices. How much would a burger be? And then you do that for the rest of the day. And that makes all the difference in the world. So it's like, if you want to go and make the transition to getting to, from even just like, let's say you're in the 150-ish mark and you want to get to like close to 200, you have to, on a regular basis, start to add more calories to your daily consumption. It's not that complicated. People want to talk about, peptides, steroids, whatever it may be, SARMs I've been hearing about. But like, what if you just ate more every day? What if you just lifted heavy on a regular, consistent basis? And not even heavy, just lift it. That could do wonders for how you are. And also, something that actually makes a big difference is just letting time pass by. As you get older, your metabolism will slow down. I mean, something for me is that like it was almost literally like the day I turned 25, my metabolism was like, peace, I'm out, and just cut. So it's like I went from, I was about 160-ish, 165, let's say. And then I had the boxing film that I just did, and I needed to put on size because initially it was going to be more of like a boxer. You need to be pretty wham. And so I went and I started bulking. I went from 160 to about 200 pounds, and I just ate more and I trained hard. And I was also boxing too. So it's like I was sweating and I was doing some, anaerobic exercises. But if you just eat more, you'll actually put on more size. Like, I hope that is the big takeaway, that if I simply just ate more and I had a rough idea of how much I was eating, and I worked out more consistently and longer than I ever wanted to, or that I ever did before, that I'll see results over a longer period of time. Because there is an element of patience. Don't get me wrong, I tried bulking when I was younger and nothing was happening because, one, I was never that disciplined. I was, it was here or there. It was, a couple workouts with like my cousins, and then, with the rugby team, and then, a little here, there, or I ate a lot one day and the next day I'm pretty much just like living off of chips and vibes. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to actually give a concerted effort for it to work. You don't have to mess around with drugs. You don't have to do anything crazy, but you just need to actually put in the effort and the time. So again, with myself, I just put in, I knew I had the film coming up, so I needed to put on the size. So I put on the size. And after I filmed the movie, which I ended up having to actually cut a bunch of weight because we had changed the script, which I'll talk about in a later video, but I realized, I was like, okay, cool. Now I know the system. I was like, look, I always wanted to hit 100 kilos, which is like roughly about 220, 225. And so I just did that. I just kept working out, kept eating. I got big. And it's not something like, here's the thing, being big is relative to who you are, your genetics, your height, your age. All these things you got to take into consideration. So if you do that, if you look at your physique and where you're at roughly, then for example, my sweet spot is not 200, let's say it's 230. Okay, if you're a taller person and you're like, okay, if I want to look yoked, I got to be 230. Or if you're somebody who's on the shorter side, you're like, you know what, 200, I'll look bloated. I'll look way too big. I'd rather just be a lean 170, 185. And that's going to be like, you'll look incredible if that's your weight. So the weight, I wouldn't even be too worried about the weight. It's how you end up looking and how you want that to look for you. And so for you, it's entirely dependent on your genetics. Some people, they just look at some weights and then all of a sudden they're just yoked out of their mind. Some people, they got to be so disciplined and so on it. And even then, they're not getting the results that they want. And that's okay. They just got to work harder than most. Not everyone gets an even equal pair of cards. I mean, at the end of the day, there's some people out here who, even if they put in everything that they possibly could, because of some health issues, they can't change their body. And that's life sometimes. And so you have to look, and that's okay though. You don't have to get jacked. You really don't. All this to be said, being jacked is not really the important key. The important key is to be health. You want to make sure that you are somebody who is healthy. You're going to focus on longevity. And that's why drugs are not the answer. I hope you know that. If you are thinking that steroids or an intense amount of drugs or whatever the kids are using these days is going to be the thing to get girls. First of all, girls ain't it, like, it's not the end all and be all of all things. Yes, find an amazing girl. She will make your life incredibly amazing. But, getting girls to chase after you, et cetera, et cetera, stop it. Like, if that's your goal, you got to reevaluate a lot of things before getting jacked is one of them. So, sure, have a motivation and be like, okay, I want to be somebody who could attract a proper woman. Fine, by all means, but do it for yourself first and foremost, because you want the life that you always knew you could have if you reach your potential. That is something that is a world of difference in being able to have the discipline to get to the weight you want to get to and to do it in a very longevity based way. So that way it's not just, a flash in the pan. I got in good shape once and that was it. So ideally, if you're looking to bulk up, the answer is very simple. It's obviously just eating more and it's working out. Those are the two main things. Yes, there's sleep and recovery and all those things and your genetics and all those other things I mentioned, but those are the two key factors. But then from an overarching philosophical perspective, it's your why. It's why you're doing it. What's going to make you get up in the morning and actually train, or, push past failure, or eat that extra thing that you don't want to eat, or why are you even doing it in the first place? Or is even getting jacked worth it? Would it not just be better to be healthy? And you want to know what I've really come to terms with as I've gotten older and as I've, gone through different phases of bulks and cuts, et cetera, is there's nothing better than a six pack. There's really not. Like, bulking is cool and all. I like being 225, but once you get chunky and it's not like a lean 225, for me, it wasn't it. I didn't like it as much. And so now I've been on a cut. I'm back down to 200. I feel a lot lighter. I feel a lot better. And I still have a lot more that I want to accomplish right now with my goals, especially for the next film that I'm doing. So it's one of those things that I forgot the importance of how much I appreciated abs. But at the same time, I do feel like for most men, especially if you're at the average height range, getting to 200 pounds is a cool thing to do. Once in your life, you get to 200 pounds, but where you go from that, where your maintenance ends up being, that is dependent on you. It's something to think about. And more than anything, just make sure you're healthy, make sure you're living a happy life, make sure you're working hard. And that's really all that matters. Anyways, that's it from me. Till the next one. Yallah. Salam, everybody.